Alrighty, so you're struggling to hit gold complete, and there's some bloke on Discord, he's talking smack. Don't worry, I got you. All I ask is a little bit of a sub and a little bit of a Twitter follow, and I'm gonna get you to gold complete. Don't you worry, let's do it. Alright guys, before we get into it all, I want to give you some of my biggest tips for aim training. They're not the actual physical aim training, but it's more of a mindset when you get in here, just to get the most out of it. I want you to try and approach aim training kind of like when you go to the gym. There's no point comparing yourself to other people. What you should be doing is just focused on that little bit of improvement on yourself and keep it consistent. It's like, yeah, you might go into the gym because you're an 80-year-old grandma trying not to have broken bones, you know? Or you go into the gym because you're trying to break the deadlift world record. Like, they're both in the gym, but the comparison there is just silly. There's no point. Do the same with aim training, because I see lots of people trying to compare, and they'll ask each other how many hours they've got, or what's their thing in this, and blah, 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 blah. Who cares about all that? All you want to do is you just want to get better, right? You could be some 45-year-old lady going through a divorce, and oh yeah, I'm going to do some bloody aim training to get over that bloke. Yeah, just get into it and just go at your own pace. Or you could be some 20-year-old young gun just going for it, wants to be the best of the best. Yeah, there's no point comparing each other. Yeah, just run your own race, I guess. Secondly, I want you to focus on your technique and your effort more than the actual score that you get. Yeah, there's benchmarks there to get, but they should just be a reflection of your skill. You know what I mean? There's no point getting the score just for the score. Like, you could go pay Matty OW $1,000 and he can go get you the best scores on your account. But it's kind of meaningless, right? Like, the score is just a thing. So make your skill back up your score. This reflection, the score should just be a reflection of your skill. Simple as that. Work on your skill. Don't look at the score. If you keep improving your technique, then one day you'll just be surprised that, oh wow, I got that. I wasn't even thinking about it. I smashed it easy. And so yeah. So Pasu here. It's the first benchmark in Voltaic, and it's also a part of dynamic clicking. So for Pasu, my number one tip would be to keep smoothness. You don't want to go for the target as fast as you can. You see how when I flick for it, it's harder for me to see the targets. If I'm just keeping smooth, calm, relaxed, like this type of, it's easier for me to see the targets in my peripheral vision. So that way, once I go for a target, I can go for the next target very easily. You see how I don't have to move my mouse very much? If I'm going for a snap, I might go over the top, might flick right past it, and I gotta go back and flick again, but just calm, smooth, and you can see the next target already. Alright, I want you to think back when you're a kid. Maybe you're playing cricket if you're in Australia. Maybe it's baseball if you're watching me from the US. But the number one thing you were taught was eye on the ball. Always eye on the ball. It's the same thing here at aim training. This, my mouse moving, the cursor, think of it like the bat. It's a part of you. You're holding the bat, you're holding the mouse. You want to keep the eye on the ball, always follow it. And so, what you want to do is, as a beginner, keep your eye on the ball until it's dead, until you've hit the target. And then you can use your peripheral vision to go for the next one. But I want you focused on the target. Keep your eye on the ball until it's gone. It's going to help you so much. So for a tip in Pasu in general, I got this one from Matty OW. I'm going to link his video down below. Good stuff there. They will move in certain directions. They'll have certain patterns that Pasu will move. One nice little tip is when they change directions, it's very unlikely that they'll change directions again quickly. So you'll see this one coming down, changes direction, up. Just take a look at the pattern. When they do change directions, it's unlikely that they'll instantly change directions again. So as a beginner in Pasu, it's important to understand that if you miss, your score will be reduced. So don't spam click and just try to go for it, because even if you hit one and you start missing, your score will go down. As a beginner, I want you to focus more on accuracy than speed, pretty much for every scenario. It's better to be accurate, and once you're accurate, the speed will come naturally. It's kind of like anything that you're learning. So you're learning an instrument, eventually you will understand the nuances of the instrument, and then you'll just naturally start going faster. You don't start off with speed, because your technique will just be bad. I think it's the same thing for aim training. Alright, so I'm going to try and implement everything I just said there. I'm going to try to be accurate, I'm going to try and be smooth. I'm going to use my peripheral vision to see the next target, and I'm going to keep my eye on the ball. Eye on the ball. Let's see how we go. Alright, so here we have popcorn. There's going to be some similarities with Pasu in that they're both dynamic clicking. It's better to be smoother, not necessarily slow, but smooth. The difference here is if you do miss, your score isn't penalized, but you see at the top right there, the BB gun. Once that goes out, I'm not able to shoot. So there still is a penalty to missing, but it's not as detrimental as the Pasu. What you notice there is, like, if I miss and then I hit, my BB gun reloads some ammo automatically, back up to 100. So there's still a big incentive to be accurate. Don't spam this stuff. What I want you to do is similar to Pasu, is you just want to be slow and smooth. You can see all the other targets in your peripheral vision. And remember, eye on the ball, eye on the target. Don't worry about anything else until that target's dead. And then you can use your peripheral vision to get to the next target. For popcorns specifically, you'll notice that they go up in an arc, like a parabola. Is that how you say it? Parabola. Anyway, so at the top, they're much easier to hit than as they're going up or as they're dropping. So you want to kind of keep your crosshair just around here, like as they fall into it. So you keep it smooth and high, and you should be able to have a much easier time than if you were to snap like this, where you just can't see anything. So let's try and give it a go, eh? So I believe I need 720 to hit gold here. So let's focus on accuracy. Let's try to stay smooth. You see, I don't have to really move my crosshair too much to actually kill the targets. They're coming towards me. So why chase them when they come straight to you? Remember, eye on the ball. And we've done it. Alright guys, so here we have one wall, 4 targets. Most people will struggle with static in the benchmarks for Voltaic, and don't think it's because you're naturally bad at it, but from my understanding is that static is the most popular and most pushed of all the scores, and I believe that when the benchmarks are being created, it's based off averages, so don't get too discouraged. Yeah, just give it a go. It's probably going to be harder than the other categories of aiming, but you can still do it. Easy, you got this. Alright, let's get into it. So, as a beginner, everything that I've been saying still applies. You want to keep your eye on the ball. You want to focus on accuracy, especially in static. It's very, very important. Once you get into the flow of it, you'll be accurate. You'll be able to switch to the different targets and be much more successful. If you just go for speed and start missing, you're doomed from the start. Just trust me on this one. Accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. So let's go over the technique just a little bit. So this is where I'm gonna throw out a shout out. There's a way to play static, and the person who basically became the godfather of static, his name is Bardos, and he kind of created this thing called the Bard Pill. It's basically a super, super effective way of learning how to play static. I'm going to put it up, just up here on the screen here, so you can have a read. So when you start static, you might be tempted to do something like this. Click it, move slowly over here. Kind of like you were playing Pasu. But you do not want to do this long term, and I don't think it's the best way to learn, because eventually you're going to be limited. You might be able to hit gold doing it that, but I think you're learning bad habits. Now, this isn't like a scientific kind of I'm 100% correct, but this is just the way I feel about it, as well as many in the community. So what you want to do is instead, is you want to do a quick flick and you want to micro correct. The micro correction it's difficult to see, but it'll come kind of naturally. You can take your time with it, as you see there in the Bard Pill. You want to flick fast, and then you can take your time with the micro correction. All the micro correction is like a second flick. It's very difficult to see. I'm going to slow this down for you, and you'll be able to see the little micro corrections here. When you slow it down, we can see that every single flick here is using some form of micro correction. Now, I don't want to dishearten anyone, because we're all on a different journey if we're doing our aim. If you're someone who just really wants to do something like this, I reckon just go for it. You're still training, you're still learning how to move your mouse. You're doing mouse control here. It might not be the most efficient, but there still is some kind of benefit to it, right? So if that's what you're happy doing, go for it, I reckon. Give it a go. Prove the community wrong, if you could do it long term. But as a beginner, who cares? Like, you're just here to improve. So maybe you're someone who doesn't have much skill in FPS games, you're very new, and so maybe this is the best way for you to start learning static. Like, aim training is very new. If you look at all other kind of sciences, and people have been wrong for a long time, so maybe there is very good benefit in doing this. And maybe people who want to do bard pills straight away, maybe it's not the best thing. Maybe it is better to go slow first, and once you kind of reach your limit, then try to do bard pill. Who knows? But, so I guess do what's most comfortable for you, but as a standard in the community, most people are going to say, yep, we want to do a flick, micro correct, something like this. With static, it's much easier to correct an underflick than it is to overflick and then go back. Because you think about it, we're going the same direction. Let's say underflick to here, and then as I'm micro correcting, it's just a simple, we're continuing the same little movement, right? But if I overflick and then I've got to move the mouse back again, my hand is now having to move direction, and it makes things a lot tougher. So it's difficult to say like where to try and flick to, but me personally, I like to kind of aim for the edge of the target that's closest to you. So if I'm going from here and I'm trying to flick to this target here, I'm actually aiming for just the side of the circle here. So that way, if I miss, I can just micro correct. Well, finished out there. Let me do the example here. So let's say I'm here and I want to go down to here. I'm going to be aiming for where the bottom of my crosshair is. Just like, I'm still aiming for the target, but if I do get off, if I overflick, I'm going to be on target. If I underflick, it's just going to be here, easy to correct. So, you see? Like that. Like that. So yeah, you want to try and, I guess, think about it as like underflicking, but it's a very small underflick. You're pretty much going to be on target, but all that does is prevent overflicking. And it's just going to make you so much more efficient than if you do constantly overflick. Much better to underflick. A big problem people have with static is gripping their mouse too tight and just really going for the score. And so by the end of it, they're kind of shaking, they can hardly move their arm, they're just way too tense. There's too much tension in their movement. What you want to try and do is, it's difficult to learn. I put this in the other video actually. What you want to do is, you want to, when you flick initially, there's going to be you're going to tense up a little bit just to get that speed. But as you're going in, I want you to try and untense and use the momentum of the flick. So that way, when you get to the target, you're loose, and then you can tense again and then go to the next target. And as you're tensing, same thing. You want to release the tension. So every time you're about to land, there's not much tension in your arm and hands and whatever. You know, you're playing air hockey on the air hockey table, and you got the paddle that you're holding. You know how you usually hold it really tight and you want to bang. You don't want to do that with static, with your mouse. You don't want to hold it the similar way. What you want to do is just use the momentum, just let it keep going. Eventually you'll get it. It's difficult to do initially, but once you do, it's just going to make you so much more efficient. Like, a lot of people will struggle with static because of this, but when you're very what's the word? When there's not much tension in your flicks, it's so much easier to be consistent and just keep on going. I could do this basically all day if I needed to. Alright, I think that's the last topic. The last tip, and we'll get into an example. What we want to do here is, let's focus on the accuracy. Let's try not to overflick. And yeah, tension management. Alright, let's give it a go. Eye on the ball, eye on the target. And tension management. The other thing about the tension management is, notice when you are loose, you're able to move your mouse pretty much in any direction, 360 degrees. But when you're tensed, give it a go now. Tense up, grab your mouse. You'll notice that your range of motion is much more limited. So think about you tense up for speed and you loosen up for direction. And it's all about getting that balance. Very difficult to start with. Don't get disheartened by watching me here hitting all these dots. You'll get there eventually. Once you get it, you get it. It's hard to learn, but once you have it, you're gonna smash it. All right, wide wall, 5 targets. Very, very similar to the one we just played. Bigger targets. There's a bigger wall that we have to work with. Instead of missing and losing, we've got the BB gun again. So if you do miss, you won't be able to shoot whilst this is happening. If you do miss and then you hit one, it will reload just like last time. All right, I'm just gonna quickly get into this because I don't think there's too many more tips for this one. It's the same thing as all the others. Is we want to focus on accuracy. We want to flick to the target. We want to try and... Oh, that's one thing I will say actually is the big difference between this and the previous static. What you want to do is you don't really want to go for that underflick I was talking about before. You should be able, because the targets are bigger, you should be able to straight flick onto target, onto target, onto target, onto target, just like that. And so that's where you'll get your score. All right, I'm gonna give an attempt now, and let's do it. And you notice there, I did miss. I went off, missed and wasn't able to shoot there. So even me, I mess up. All right, on to the next thing. So now we start linear clicking. So let's get on to the old Frogtagon. So with Frogtagon, we have the BB gun again. Well, it says pistol. Same deal. You miss, you don't lose any points, but if you miss too often, you won't be able to shoot for a bit until you hit the target and it reloads. So what we want to do, I'm going to be saying the same things many times, is eye on the ball, eye on the target. We want to focus on one target before we focus on the next. We're going to use our peripheral vision to go from target to target. So we'll be just watching this one, but we can already see in our peripheral vision there's another one here. So switch, switch, switch. Yeah, because of the nature of the scenario, is like balls are bouncing everywhere, targets are bouncing everywhere. We want to stay like kind of around the middle. You want to like kind of be in like a circle like this. Obviously, sometimes you're going to have to go out, but a lot of these targets are just going to come to us, so we don't really have to go crazy chasing, but we can kind of focus on a target and then use our peripheral vision to go to the next target. And because it's linear, meaning that they're just going in straight lines, you can kind of preempt it. So when you get good enough, you can go to the next target, but you want to like flick just slightly in front of where it is, so you can kind of be more efficient, right? But just get comfortable with the scenario. So let's give it a go. I'm going to stay around the middle. We're going to focus on accuracy. We're going to look and focus on one target at a time and then move on to the next using our peripheral vision. 14, 60. All right, let's go. So, floating heads. What does Mum tell little Timmy when he's learning baseball? Eye on the ball, Timmy, eye on the ball. We're going to keep focused on one target and use our peripheral vision to go to the next. Now, floating heads, we will be penalized if we miss. Score will go down. So yeah, let's super focus on accuracy. And let's not try to be too flicky. We can be around the middle, just like fairly smooth. Reading the targets around us. Alright, let's go for it. So floating heads, we're looking for 640 for gold. Let's just try to chill out a bit for this one. Accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. Smooth movements. Smooth movements means we can see our targets easier. And eye on the target. Eye on that ball, little Timmy. Don't get hit in the face. We don't have health insurance. There we go. That was enough, wasn't it? All right. All right, guys, we're finished with clicking. Now we are on to tracking. And so we're on to PGT. I don't actually know what PGT stands for, so I guess it's like prayer, grandma, T-Rex, PGT. Anyway, for tracking in general, you want to... The whole idea is we're following the target. You want to be on that target, holding down mouse 1. The biggest thing that people do wrong with tracking is overcorrecting. So the target will slightly move in a certain direction, and then you will try to follow it, but you go too hard. You over flick it, and you're just off target. And you try to get back, and it gets worse, and it's a big kerfuffle. So what we want to do is, we want to just be slow. We want to be smooth and slow. So look, it got away from me, but because I was smooth and slow, I was able to correct and get back down to it. Smooth and slow. See, it's off. We're just chilling. We're just chilling. That's prayer. Now on to grandma. Smooth and slow. So this scenario will follow very similar movement patterns every time. So they're not exactly the same, but basically they'll be like 90% the same each target here. So we just want to be smooth and slow. It moved away. Okay, we'll move away as well. Just want to chill. So tracking is a scenario where the sensitivity does matter a whole heap. There'll be some scenarios where you just have to have very high sense to have a chance. So do what I showed you at the start of this video. Leaderboard, straight up. What are these people doing? Around 50, just over 50 it seems. So yeah, 55, fine. We could go 52 maybe. All right, let's have a go. Smooth and slow. Try this out in the games as well. Let's say you play Marvel Rivals or something, you're playing Punisher. Just try out smooth and slow when you're targeting the head. You'll surprise yourself. There we go. Alrighty, on to Snake Track. So we'll do our thing again. 51, 52, 50, 42, 44, let's keep it the same. This one here, you're probably going to have to be more precise than something like PGT. But same philosophy, just smooth, just chill. That's not overcorrect. It's a bit hard to give a lot of tips with tracking. It's pretty much just is what it is. Stay on target. Try to control your tension. Don't want to be too tense. When the object stops, you can let go of tension a little bit, so your arm isn't completely cooked by the end of the scenario. I didn't actually look up what we need here, but so our mouse is not in a good position here, so learn from my mistakes. It's good to readjust when the target there is stopping. You see the target is stopped and your hand might be over here on the edge here or whatever in a bad position. If it's stopped, perfect time to quickly jump off and then readjust. Because that's going to happen in games as well. You're going to be playing games where you're tracking some crazy bloke in the sky, like bang, 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 and then your arm's out here and some dude just pops up in front of you and like boom, flick, you gotta readjust. So happens in aim chambers, happens in game. Alright, next scenario. We are onto reactive tracking. How exciting. So same thing again. What kind of sense do we need? 28, 35, 20, 20, 40. Let's make 35. We'll go for 35. See how we feel. Now, reactive trackings, where my previous tip is very, very important. Let's not overcorrect. So it's going to be super, super easy to go too far because these things are very quick. And so you think that's going that way and you try to adjust, but just when the targets move to the left, move to the right, you want to be kind of smooth, kind of slow. You don't want to be flicking. Don't flick. Just think of it more as like you're following it. You're tracking it, right? We're tracking. No flicking. So you can see it moves quite quickly. But here the target is quite large, so it's fairly easy to stay on. It goes left, I go left. It goes right, I go right. Let's rub his belly. Rub that belly. Down in circles. Rub that belly. Let's stay nice and smooth. He gets off us. It's okay. We can just jump back on target. We're just chilling. We're just chilling. We're vibing here. That's what we do on Lose Guides. We're just vibing. So you'll notice this scenario as well, the targets will kind of move diagonally a little bit. So you can just kind of go on there. If it gets too low, you probably want to stick around the top of the target like I'm trying to do here. That way, so when it comes back up, you don't have to adjust as hard because you're already at the top. Does that make sense? When it's at the top, you're at the bottom. So, same thing. It goes down, you're already on target. This, we're just gonna small little circle motions for the second Aether. Same thing, it's down the bottom. See how I'm trying to be at the top? Too easy, eh? Probably getting a bit repetitive here, but we will do the ground. And again, the ground tracking, same thing. Do not overcorrect. Don't over flick. Just keep concentrated on the target itself. That's all you want to be looking at the whole time. See how it skipped a bit, but I kept the same pace. Target 2, just the same thing. I honestly believe that with tracking, the best tip is just being relaxed, just chilling. Don't overcomplicate it. Just vibe. Put on some calm music maybe. That meditation mindset. Just look at the target. Just let your hand do the thing. There we go. Alright, raw control. And you guessed it, guys. You guessed it. We're just gonna follow calmly. I wish I had some more tips to fill in this time, but tracking to me is a fairly simple task. It's not extremely nuanced. See, this control sphere will have similar movements, so if you aren't used to them, you simply just got to grind out a few things. Eventually you get used to the movement pattern. You might think like, why doesn't that help me in game? Well, does it help me in game if it's just a movement pattern I'm learning? The thing is like, when you're playing games, there's always movement patterns. You're playing Valorant, people are going to peek in a specific way. Say you're playing Marvel Rivals, trying to shoot down an Iron Man. His flying mechanics are going to be in a certain pattern. So really, it's just learning patterns. We got control sphere, very similar to our last scenario here. This one's going to move more diagonally up and down. Again, you just got to get kind of used to the pattern, as well as not trying to overcorrect. Just relax that hand. Don't be too tense. There we go. Alright guys, dot target switch. Now this is going to have some similar techniques to static, but there are some slight differences. So static, depending on the size of the ball, we want it to flick either slightly under or straight onto target. When you're doing dot target switch, you want to do the flick straight onto target. Straight on. The balls are big enough. Okay, so what you do want to do is we're focusing on the target, but once we're on there, we're going to want to be focused on the next one. So once we're on there, we kind of know where we're already going to go. So it's not completely eye on the ball the entire time, like the other scenarios have been telling you, but you kind of want to see where it is. You get used to the timing and switch, switch, switch. The best way, obviously, is to try this yourself. Another tip here is when we're switching to different things, we're kind of used to at the moment is we'll stay on target until it's dead. But with static switching and speed switching in general, what we want to do is we want to start moving off target just while it's slightly still alive. So that way, as we're leaving, you're still doing damage, and we kill as we get off, but we're onto the next target much more efficiently. And because the time to kill these targets is so low, all that little time adds up. And that's where you'll see how people get massive scores. You might have been doing this scenario and then wondering how the hell did these people get such a big score? It's simply because of how efficient they are from going through and then flicking onto target without over flicking, straight on, straight on. See, I'm mucking it up here. See, I'm not doing it properly. But with practice, you'll get used to it. And yeah, you simply just want to jump on. This is where, as a beginner, I definitely put on a kill confirm sound. So I like this one here. Another popular one is like the deep kicks. So do a deep kick here, and so it just helps you kind of get into like a rhythm. I'll just say here, if you're a Valorant player or TAC FPS, it actually took me a while to realize that this is actually really good, because what you're doing in a TAC FPS is you're switching, but you're not like clicking kind of like in dynamic clicking. It's a lot of switching and then stopping, like you got to do in this. So it's like switch the head, and you kind of want to pull down with your recoil, right? So if you're playing CS or Val, if you get really good at this, you'll notice so quickly how much better you get at shooting people in Valorant and CS. Holy hell! When I was grinding my GM, that's when I started playing some Val in between. It's like, whoa, I am popping off here. So yeah, let me give it a shot here. All right, next, so Eddie. Let's see what 36, 44. What are we on? 35. That's probably why the other one was a bit difficult. 40. We'll go 40. And yeah, guys, this is very similar to the .ts, although they are moving. So basically the exact same mindset. On, flick, on, flick. This is speed switching. It must be fast. So just try to maybe think like, okay, touch it off, touch it off, touch it off, touch it off, touch it off. That's what I kind of do. Just give it a little touch in the middle of the dot. So middle of the dot, touch, middle of the dot, touch, middle of the dot, touch, and we flick. You'll be able to get into like a good pattern of it. See, I'm not too great at this, but you can get there. Remember, your aim is straight onto the target. And it's better to underflick than it is to overflick. Alrighty. Okay, guys, so I wasn't recording, so it's yapping for a bit, but you know, let's do it again. DriftTS, it's evasive tracking. Sorry, evasive target switching, but we want to treat it as if we're just tracking an individual target here. Once it's dead, we're just going to simply move on to the next one. Don't try to flick and do hard things, just keep it really simple in your mind. All we're doing is tracking really slowly, just like before. Slow to the left, slow to the right. Staying on target. It dies, then we move on to the next one. It dies, move on to the next one. On to the next one. It's just that simple. So let's give it a go. Eye on the ball, little Timmy. Eye on the ball. Track, 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 switch, track, switch, track, switch. Let's go. Alrighty. Alrighty, guys. FlyTS. You guessed it. Very similar to the last evasive target switching. All we're going to do is track and switch. Track, switch. Remember, slow, calm, smooth movements. Let's do it. I will say, little tip for the scenario is sometimes they'll come down to around here. This is when it's really easy to mess it up. So if you can, try to get the targets that are up higher, or the roof is not that great either, but it's much better than the ground. So that's just a little tip for you if you're struggling. All right, let's get into it. There we go. All right, guys, we're under something called stability switching. So what this is trying to do is make you more stable. The time to kill is going to be longer. So we basically, again, similar to what we've just been doing the last two, track and then switch. Track and then switch. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to, try not to overflick. Just be calm. It's better to be calm and accurate than go for it and end up missing and whiffing everything. Just practice your technique. That's all you gotta do. Eventually, you're gonna hit gold. Easy. All right, let's give it a go. Alrighty, guys. We are on to the very last scenario. Penta Bounce. So this, it's also under the stability category. But when you do look at it, a lot of this is, yes, you got to be stable, but it's a lot about smoothness. You have to switch as well, but switching isn't like a massive thing here. It's, if you can stay on the target and be smooth, you're going to do well here. Smoothness doesn't necessarily mean slow. Even I will mix the terms up a lot, but it basically just means having a consistent speed. So you can be very fast, but you're still smooth. Do you know what I mean? You're not going, you're not changing, you're not accelerating. You're just being a constant speed here. So the way these targets move, you can see, constant speeds. So that's pretty much what we're training here. It's very easy to switch on these, so let's get into it, eh? There we go. All done. Alrighty, guys. Cheers for watching. I hope you got something out of that video. Give us a follow on Twitter. I'm not too popular over there, only 13. Not too many people. So give us a follow and I'll love you forever. Alright, catches.
Fiddlesticks.